Discuss the attacks against the Windows workstation. How it can made more secure? Answer. There are many vulnerabilities for the Windows operating system. A visit to websites such as Anti-Bug-Track and Security Focus will show that the list of vulnerabilities is growing every day. Viruses. A virus is a piece of code that inserts itself into other legitimate software. As with a biological virus, the computer virus is not viable if found on its own. The virus needs the host software or file to propagate and carry out its mission. A virus is able to replicate itself and propagate with the host software or file. If the virus has attached itself to an application, the code in the virus is run every time the application runs. The virus code will have the same privileges as the host application. A typical example of a host for this kind of virus is a self-extracting video clip. When the unsuspecting user launches the file to extract the video, the virus code runs. This virus spreads by persons sending the self-extracting video clip to their friends. Email viruses move from PC to PC as part of the body of a message. The I Love You virus in the spring of 2000 was simply an attachment that users launched. Once launched, the virus's Visual Basic script sent out an infected message to everyone in the user's address book. Worms. A worm is code able to replicate itself while propagating to other hosts. In addition to replicating and propagating, worms can have code that might be destructive. The difficult task for a worm is its need to get code to run on a remote host. To do this, the worm must exploit a vulnerability on the remote host. Worms often target common, high-visibility applications, such as the Microsoft Web Server, Internet Information Server, IIS. Trojan horses. A Trojan horse is a program that masquerades as a legitimate application, while also performing a covert function. The user believes they are launching a legitimate application, such as a screensaver. When the Trojan horse runs, the user has every indication that the expected application is running. However, the Trojan horse also runs additional code that performs some covert activity. The possibilities for covert activity are almost limitless. Spyware and ad support. Spyware is a group of software applications that gathers information about the workstation and users. This information is then sent back to the developer or distributorship of the spyware to prepare ads or revise marketing campaigns. The Windows workstation stores personal information in a number of places inaccessible to applications running on the machine. The most common example is accessing the information put into web browsing cookies. Spyware and Big Brother. The term spyware also refers to the set of applications that intentionally snoop and monitor user activities in a covert manner. This is reminiscent of the Big Brother in George Orwell's 1984. These PC surveillance tools report detailed information back to the person installing the spyware. Typical information that can be reported includes the following. User keystrokes. This can be used to capture passwords and other very sensitive data. Copies of emails. Emails sent or received can be forwarded, unbeknownst to the user, to the person wanting to monitor the user. Copies of instant messages. Essentially, any communications to and from the PC can be copied and sent to the spyware's owner. Screen snapshots. Even encrypted communications will at some point be displayed in the clear to the screen. At this point, the spyware can take a screenshot and send the image to whoever has developed or distributed the spyware. Other usage information. Login times, applications used, and websites visited are examples of other data that can be captured and reported back. Physical attacks. There are numerous physical attacks to which Windows workstations are vulnerable. Most security professionals assume that if an attacker has unlimited physical access to a system, the system can be successfully attacked. Some examples of physical attacks are as follows. If the attacker can boot a system with a floppy disk or CD, they can get the SAM and other key information to crack passwords, or they can just delete the passwords and set up their own. If the attacker can boot a system with a floppy disk or CD, they can have the workstation boot into a Windows system that is configured to give them access. Keystroke capture devices can be placed on the workstation to steal critical data that is typed into the system, such as passwords and emails. Network traffic to and from the workstation can easily be captured or sniffed if an attacker can insert a hub or modify a switch. Tempest attacks. Transient electromagnetic pulse emanation standard (TEMPEST) attacks consist of capturing the electromagnetic radiation leaking from electronic equipment. Tempest attacks are usually done by analyzing the electromagnetic radiation from the monitor. Because tempest attacks can be carried out at a distance of tens of yards, this can be a concern when dealing with very sensitive data. Backdoors. A backdoor is a means for an attacker to easily get into Windows workstations. Often, the initial attack on a workstation is difficult and potentially detectable by a firewall or IDS device. So the attacker will install an application that will allow him to get back into the workstation quickly and easily. These backdoors are often stealthy and difficult to detect. File extensions. Windows has a feature that allows the file extensions to be hidden to the user. This supposedly makes the system more convenient and user-friendly. This convenience comes at a security price, however. By hiding the extensions, malicious code is able to masquerade as something benign. For example, a user might be tempted to open a file named readme.txt. Knowing that simple ASCII text files cannot contain malicious code. However, the user will be at risk if the real file name is readme.txt.bat, because the true extension, .bat, is hidden by Windows. Now if the user opens the file by double-clicking on it, the malicious code in the BAT file will run with the same permissions as the user. Packet sniffing. A Windows workstation is vulnerable to having its network traffic intercepted and read by another workstation on the same LAN segment. At one time, this threat was restricted to when the two workstations were on the same hub. Now, tools such as Etcap are available to attackers that will allow them to read the traffic in a switched environment. In a hub environment, the traffic can be read passively without the Windows user being affected. In the switched environment, the tools set up a man-in-the-middle attack, in which the traffic is intercepted, copied, and then sent on to the intended destination. The Windows workstation can be made secure. The major components to a secure workstation are as follows. Harden the operating system. Install secure applications such as antivirus protection. Prepare the network that will contain the workstation. Operate the workstation safely. Maintain patches and upgrades for both the operating system and key applications. Test and monitor the security of the workstation frequently. What is the web browser attacks of web-based application? Answer. Web browser attacks are pretty typical of web-based applications in general. The attacks can be summarized as follows. Hijacking. This is a man-in-the-middle attack in which the attacker takes over the session. Replay. This is a man-in-the-middle attack in which sent data is repeated, replayed, leading to various results. spread of malcode, viruses, worms, and so on. The scripting nature of web browser makes them prime targets for the spread of malcode, running dangerous executables on the host. In some cases, the browser may permit executables to run on the host workstation. This can be very risky. Accessing host files. Certain attacks allow the browser to send files to an attacker. These files may contain personal information, such as banking data, or system information, such as passwords. Theft of private information. Browsers are at risk of disclosing sensitive information to strangers on the internet. This information may be used in identity theft or to conduct a social engineering attack. Hijacking attack. Session hijacking occurs when an HTTP session is observed and captured by a network sniffer. The attacker modifies the captured traffic to allow the attacker to take the place of the client. All future traffic in the session is now channeled between the web server and the attacker. The hijacking is usually done after the legitimate user has authenticated to the web server. Therefore, the attacker does not have to re-authenticate, usually for the remainder of the session. In this way, the attacker bypasses one of the major security features of the web-based session: the initial authentication. The hijacking attack exploits a weak method of maintaining state. If the attacker can understand how state is maintained, they may be able to inject themselves into the middle of the session by presenting a valid state. 1. A valid user does some web activity that results in their acquiring a cookie. 2. The cookie is stolen or captured by an attacker. 3. The cookie is transmitted with the attacker's attempt to access the application. The cookie authenticates the attacker as a valid user. The attacker gets access to the application. Figure 6.3. Hijacking when cookies maintain state. Replay attack. Session replay occurs when an HTTP session is captured by a network sniffer. Some aspect of the session is then modified. Certain replays, such as transferring bank funds, may not require modifications. The modified session is then fed back onto the network. If the replay is successful, the web server will believe the replayed traffic to be legitimate and respond accordingly. This could produce a number of undesirable results. Figure 6.4 illustrates session replay. The responsibility is on the web server to prevent replay attacks. A good method for maintaining the session will also prevent a replay attack. The web server should be able to recognize replayed traffic as no longer being valid. 1. A valid user does some web activity such as transfer $5,000 from account A to account B. There may or may not be a cookie. 2. The web page holding the transaction request is stolen or captured by an attacker. 3. The web page is retransmitted. The transaction is repeated, an additional $5,000 is transferred. The attacker can retransmit numerous times. 4. Depending on whether the attacker had to do spoofing, the final acknowledgement transaction may go back to the valid user's IP address where it is dropped because no session is open.